All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We are embarking on a truly stunning Scottish adventure. We're heading to the rugged, windswept northern tip of the Isle of Mull to explore a place where spectacular natural beauty collides head-on with some surprisingly dark folklore. We're talking about Glengorm Castle. It's this grand Victorian mansion surrounded by absolute wilderness, looking right out over the crashing waves of the Atlantic. It's majestic, it's haunted by its past, and honestly, it is absolutely fascinating. Let's get right into it.
Okay, here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll be moving through 6 main areas: finding Glengorm Castle, the estate's characteristics and problems, a history of curses, current conditions and stays, key attractions and wildlife, and finally, the optimal estate itinerary. Section 1, Finding Glengorm Castle, Journey to the Isle of Mull.
Now, getting to this remote estate requires a bit of navigational spirit for sure. While you ideally need 2 to 3 days to really absorb the whole area, the journey itself is half the magic. First, you make your way to the gorgeous Isle of Mull on Scotland's west coast. From there, you head toward Tobermory, that's the famous town with all the brightly colored houses, and travel about 6 kilometers, or roughly 4 miles, to the northwest. And then for the final leg, you navigate this short, dead-end, single-track road straight through the Mishnish estate. It literally feels like you're driving to the very edge of the world. And the sheer magnitude of the view when you finally hit that headland, no way around it, it's unforgettable. You're immediately greeted by these vast, wide-open views right out over the Atlantic Ocean. On a clear day, your visibility stretches up to 80 kilometers out to the Outer Hebrides. You can clearly see the islands of Uist, Rum, and Canna. It's this incredible visual payoff that instantly makes that remote trek worth every single second. Section 2. Characteristics and estate problems. Beauty meets brutal realities. So let's zoom in on the castle itself. Glengorm is this massive country house completed back in 1860. It was designed by the architects Kinnear and Peddie in what's known as the highly dramatic Scots Baronial style. This gives it a really imposing, almost fairy tale-like vibe, complete with a wild flourish of grand towers and turrets. And the scale? It's huge. If you scan the roofline, you can actually count around 35 chimneys up there. Plus, the castle isn't just sitting on a tiny little lawn. It's the crown jewel of a staggering 5,000-acre estate that packs in coastline, forestry, lochs, and sweeping hills. But, staying in an 1860s Scottish castle isn't always pure romance. There are some real practical realities. For one, you're battling the classic rainy, deeply chilly Scottish weather. Visitors often have to keep their room heaters absolutely blasting, maybe sipping some local scotch just to stay warm at night. Oh, and getting to some of those incredible tower suites, that means squeezing your luggage up these incredibly narrow, tight, and frankly pretty treacherous stone spiral staircases. Hey, it's all part of the authentic castle experience, right? Section 3, A History of Curses, the dark origins of the Blue Glen. Beneath all that magnificent architecture and those breathtaking views, there is a deeply controversial, downright chilling history. Back in 1856, a man named James Forsyth of Quinish bought up the Mishnish estate. Now, to build his dream home, which wrapped up in 1860, he ruthlessly cleared the existing townships. He literally evicted the local people straight off their land. But then, in this really bizarre twist of fate, Forsyth suffered a fatal riding accident in 1863 before the interior was even finished. After that, the property just bounced through different generations until the Nelson family took over in the 1970s. And we'll get to their much happier era in a minute. But this tragedy perfectly illustrates the dark, dark irony of the estate's name. See, Forsyth originally noticed the air around his new property had this unusual, beautiful tint to it. So he asked an elderly local woman what he should name the manor. She suggested Glengorm, which translates to Blue Glen in Gaelic. Forsyth absolutely loved it and adopted the name right away, but he was completely clueless about what it actually meant. That blue mist? It wasn't natural weather. It was the eerie blue smoke coming from the burning of the evicted crofters' homes. Their cottages, packed with peat and seaweed, were set completely ablaze during the Highland clearances. And that specific tragedy birthed a pretty terrifying local legend. The story goes that one of the evicted older women actually placed a curse on James Forsyth. She prophesied that he would not spend a single night in his grand new home. And, well, that curse essentially came true. Like we mentioned, Forsyth was killed in that riding accident in 1863. He never got to live in his completed castle, and his son had to inherit the property instead. With a history that heavy, it probably comes as no shock whatsoever that the estate is just steeped in ghost stories. Along with the tale of the Crofter's curse, local lore also talks about a spectral green lady. Supposedly, she still haunts the halls and winding corridors of the castle to this very day.
Which brings us to Section 4, Current Conditions and Stays, Experiencing Glengorm Today. So, stepping out of the shadows of the past, if you actually want to visit today, your accommodation options have shifted a bit recently. As of November 2022, the traditional bed and breakfast service inside the main castle actually stopped. But don't worry, you can still book 3 self-catering apartments right inside the castle walls, including the terrace flat and those towering multi-room suites. And out on the wider estate, you've got 5 beautiful self-catering cottages to choose from. Plus, to serve hikers and guests, they've taken the old stables and completely transformed them into a really vibrant coffee and farm shop, which usually runs from April through October. Now, what truly sets Glengorm apart from a lot of other Highland estates is the vibe. It's been owned by the Nelson family since the 1970s, and it's an actual, lived-in, year-round family home. This isn't some sterile, untouchable museum. It's a highly active working environment where the family is constantly working to strike this perfect, sustainable balance between traditional farming and serious environmental conservation.
Section 5, Key Attractions and Wildlife. Exploring the 5,000 acres. Across those 5,000 acres, your options for exploring are just incredible. First off, the wildlife is literally world-class. Right within the estate boundaries, you can spot white-tailed eagles, golden eagles, red deer, and otters. Look out into the ocean during the summer, and you might even catch sight of basking sharks and bottlenose dolphins. Second, if you're a history buff, you can hike straight from the castle out to the ancient hill fort of Dunara, or go check out some prehistoric standing stones. And finally, the local town of Tobermory is just a stone's throw away. It's famous for those picture postcard-colored houses and a wild legend about a sunken 1588 Spanish galleon right in its bay. To manage and protect all this mind-blowing biodiversity, the Nelson family actually founded the Glengorm Wildlife Project back in 2013. It is a fantastic initiative. It's designed to introduce both the staying guests and day visitors to the deep natural history of the area. They offer these guided walks that really, truly elevate your entire experience of the estate.
And finally, Section 6, the Optimal Estate Itinerary, How to Spend Your Time.
So let's tie the whole shebang together. Here is your optimal itinerary for one absolutely perfect day at the estate. Start your morning down in Tobermory, maybe picking up a bottle of the local single malt. Then head up to the estate and take a nice, vigorous hike out to the ruins of the Dunara ancient fort. Spend your afternoon on one of those guided wildlife walks, scanning the skies for eagles and combing the shoreline for otters. As the sun starts to set, take a small boat out to catch some fresh mackerel. Finally, retreat back to your self-catering castle tower or your cozy estate cottage. Cook up your catch in your private kitchen and end the evening pouring that local scotch by a crackling peat fire to chase away the chill. Sounds pretty amazing, right? Glengorm Castle is a place of unbelievable contrasts. It's this grand home built directly on the ashes of cleared settlements. It is staggering natural beauty wrapped up in a bitter, ancient curse. So I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder. Does the spectacular wildlife, the modern conservation efforts, and the sheer, rugged beauty of the estate today outweigh the chilling, tragic history of the Blue Glen? Well, you might just have to travel to the Isle of Mull, walk those windswept headlands for yourself, and find out.